Kicking this off with a Busch Light Peach. You had the privilege of trying one of those yet?
I have.
Fan? Not a fan? Where are you at on these?
It's the best flavors Busch has. I think it's better than Busch Light regular or apple. I think peach is the smoothest, chillest, easiest to drink.
Yeah, when I first tried it, I was like, I think apple's still better. But now that I've had it, I think this has taken the lead. It's the goat Busch Light.
Yeah, I've had a chance to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I had a chance to try the Twisted Tea Bomb Pop as well.
Good. I was gonna report on that. Hit me.
Yeah. Remarkable how they can make something taste like it tastes exactly like a bomb pop. But I almost couldn't even. I don't even think I finished the one can I had. It was so sugary. I could almost like feel my teeth start to hurt drinking this thing. Like, I mean, it is like you just want to have a drink to say you tried it. But there is no way your stomach could handle 3-4 of those. Like, it has to be. It makes sense why it's just in the variety packs.
Yeah, if I showed up with a 12-pack of those, I might drink them all, but I am sugar high. I'm throwing up. Yeah, it's not a good time. I was able to sample it. I bought a 6-piece sampler. They have these at Kroger where you can kind of just like pick and choose and put them in a 6-pack and walk out, right? And I was like, this is a perfect time to try this. So I grabbed one of those, a couple other things. For people that, for whatever reason, maybe you don't drink Busch Light, Leinenkugels came out with a juicy peach. Holy hell. Fire.
I will say too, for people who think like maybe you think all beers are gross, like, and you're not a beer drinker. I think Busch Light original, like, I'd rather just not drink than drink a Busch Light regular. But the apples and peach, I could drink multiple cans of both of those. The flavored ones are much better than just Busch Light.
Totally agree. Here we are. Hopefully you guys listened last week when we broke down the NFC South. That was kind of a fun division. It was the first division that we chose to do this year because honestly, we're like, could be the worst division in football. But after we broke it down, we went through schedules and went through transactions and stuff. It's like, actually, we might have 2 pretty good teams on our hands. So that was kind of fun to kind of figure out. But here we are now, and we're doing the NFC West, which is kind of a, over the last couple of years, has been kind of a power division. It feels like it's on the way down. I'm excited to talk to you about it today. Before we get into it, initial reactions about last week and then going into this week.
No, it's just I try to drive it home, like when you're at the bar talking with a friend or you're just in a backyard at a cookout. Sometimes you'll throw out records for teams or expectations, and I think that doesn't even make sense. And then it's like, okay, let me get out my phone. Here's their acquisitions. Here's what they lost. Here's what's going on. This is where they've been. Now we'll go through the schedule with me. Yeah, I bet you didn't think you had them. I went through it with one of my friends, a listener of the podcast, and we did the Saints, and he did the same thing you did. He's like, how do I have them at 13-4? And I said, you tell me, man. You went through the schedule, so don't tell me I'm crazy when I said this team should be fighting for home field advantage in the postseason. When you look at their division, the way the schedule, maps out, and, it's interesting, and we'll get to it here shortly, but like there's one team in the NFC West today that only has one occasion where they have multiple home games in a row. It only happens one time all season for them. Like, they're constantly on the road coming home. So there's just different breaks and different opponents. And, it could be a team. We talked about this a couple years ago when the Ravens finished 4th in the division. And me and you both took them to win the division because they had 3 or 4 games that just worked out to where, they're a better team than what they're, there's just so much more to it. And when I break these down, it's fun when you get to the end. You've broke down 8 divisions, and going into the season, you have a better feel for what's going around in the NFL because you already have expectations, and it's fun to see yours, and it's fun to see other people online what they believe as well.
So we're going to kick things off with the NFC West. It is the Arizona Cardinals. Okay. The Cardinals in 2022 were 4-13. in division, they were 1-5, and they lost their last 7 games to end the season. So not a great football team. Kyler Murray did get injured, and I believe it was a Sunday night football game against the Patriots. Tore his ACL, was out for the year from that. They fired Cliff Kingsbury, and they brought in Jonathan Gannon as their new head coach. They also got a new GM, Monty Ossenfort. Hopefully I'm saying that name right. As far as the keys, as far as ads and losses here, it's very minimal as far as players that I feel like the listeners are going to really know. Wide receiver Zach Pascal comes in. Kazir White, linebacker, played for the Eagles. He was on the Super Bowl team that played in the Super Bowl last year. And then obviously they drafted in the first round Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Loss is the big one. Everybody knows DeAndre Hopkins, offensive line Billy Price. Nothing else really stood out as far as that goes. Did you have anything that I didn't get or anything that comes to mind?
The only thing that I would say is nothing's happened yet when we record this podcast. There is rumblings that all-pro safety Budda Baker could be on the way out. He asked for a trade early in the offseason. He is still on the team, but there is a chance that they also lose him.
Yeah, so a couple of notes that I had for this is obviously Kyler coming off the ACL. Last year they traded for Hollywood Brown with their first-round pick, and his production was 67 catches for 709 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not great. He did lose his QB halfway through the year. Obviously, they have a QB battle going into week 1 because Kyler potentially couldn't even be ready for week 1 is potentially the rumor. So Colt McCoy, Jeff Drixel, and then Budda Baker asking for a trade, as you just alluded to. The depth chart here feels decent. Outside of quarterback, they have running back James Conner, wide receiver Hollywood Brown, wide receiver 2 would be Rondell Moore, and then tight end would be Zach Ertz. Defensive stars, Xavier Collins, who they drafted in the first round, not this year, but last year, turned out to be a solid player. Zaire White, who they brought over from Philly, and then, as we alluded to, Budda Baker with the contract issue. Not a whole lot to brag about with this team. They won 4 games last year, and if they don't have Kyler Murray, I would imagine this feels like a step back even more. Where are you at on the Cardinals here?
Well, one thing about when you're going through the depth chart, Zach Ertz played only 10 games and then got hurt. He hasn't played 16 games in 5 full seasons. Played a whole season. But he did have 47 for 406 and 4 touchdowns. So he had pretty good averages while he was still playing. This team's going to try and go through the ground on James Conner. But I believe in his career, we've always thought they're better as like a dual-headed backfield with James Conner. Colt McCoy, for some reason, when he's come in for Kyler, he's played okay. It's not like an awful thing, but they're going to be decidedly worse quarterback than their opponent in most games this year, if not all, with Colt McCoy. And in a progressively offensive league, I just think this has to be one of the bottom 5 defenses in the NFL. I mean, they did get a new head coach in Jonathan Gannon, who comes over from the Philadelphia Eagles as their defensive coordinator. But if you look at the amount of talent he had in Philadelphia and then what he has to work with now in Arizona, I'm not sure. And a lot of people talk about, you even alluded to it, even if you did, but you said, they're not going to have Kyler Murray, so it feels like a step back. Last season, when Kyler Murray was the top passer, they were 3-7. So even when he played, it wasn't like he was much of a difference maker. Yeah. And when he didn't play, the team was 1-7. So clearly they do win more with Kyler, as you'd expect, but it's not like it was like, oh, they were 5-3 or 5-4, and then no, they were bad with him, even when he was the leading passer. Hollywood Brown more. These are Hollywood Brown maybe a little bit more, but these are guys you'd love to have as the 2 or 3 speed guys, can hit a home run. But JJ Watt retires, D-Hop leaves. That's big losses on both sides of the ball. First time head coach, star quarterback is not going to play for majority of the season. It's just, I can't find, and they're in a division with 3 really good head coaches on the other side. So we did something last week, which we'll do again later, but we ranked the division 1 through 4 on just head coach quarterback. this is going to be a completely different way to look at it with the amount of like good coaches they're going against. So it's going to be a tough season for the Cardinals. And via FanDuel odds, they have the lowest over/under win projection in the NFL this season at 4.5 wins is their projection win total.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that I think they're the worst team in football. Obviously, we have broken down 4 teams, technically 8 because you and I have already done our breakdowns. We're just potting about them now, but so I've broken down 8 teams. They're by far the worst, by far. So, and I think they will be the worst team in football this year, depending on how things shake out. What accusations they might make during the season, which I doubt this team is really a buyer at any kind of deadline. But go ahead.
Another thing about them being so we've talked about some things, this and that, but they've lost so much. The things that they've added, this team, I think we can both agree, they have not improved, and they maybe at best stayed the same. Like, best case scenario, they're like the same. Last year on offense, in passing, they were 17th. Rushing, they were 22nd. Touchdowns, they were 22nd. And on defense, they had the 24th ranked pass defense and 14th ranked rush defense. Those are all in terms of total yards. So the thing that they were best at was rush defense, and there were still 13 NFL teams better than them at that alone. So with the turnover and the this and the that, and they had that anonymous thing released over the offseason where the Cardinals facility was ranked as like the last. You have to pay for food in the cafeteria. Like, what kind of environment do we have here? Don't like the Cardinals at all.
Yeah, it is crazy that you said their 4.5 win projection in this team. It's not arguable. They got worse. They lost what was a very good offensive-minded head coach, but not a great head coach, just good offensively. They lost a top-tier wide receiver. They lost their quote-unquote star quarterback. I mean, I don't know how you improve on that, personally.
Me neither. And as we get going to the schedule here, like, I might not have paid enough attention to NFC South on the schedules, but I've noticed a theme here at the NFC West, at least. But like the Cardinals, they have a back-to-back home game weeks 2 and 3. The rest of the season, they will not see 2 home games in a row.
It's tough.
So in terms of scheduling breaks, we'll see how far they travel. But yeah. And I'm looking here. Is that right? No primetime games.
Oh, no. They don't deserve any primetime games.
Well, I was just saying, like, it's just they don't even have one. So we won't even get to see how bad they are or how maybe good they are. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would put them on is maybe a Thursday night late in the season if Kyler's back. That is really it. But then again, late in the season, they would have already racked up all those losses. Then unless it's a divisional game where that team needs to win, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take the schedule away, man. We'll start predicting this.
All right. Week 1, I haven't seen everybody's, but this is maybe the most missable Week 1 game on the slate. It is Arizona Cardinals at the Washington Commanders. I don't know if there's a 1 o'clock game I'm trying to avoid more.
Let me say this, because I did take a shot at the Commanders last week without doing a dive. They're one of 2 teams off the top of my head that will rival Arizona for the number 1 pick.
Oh.
Off the top of my head. And I realize that some people will push back on that because Washington does have some players in certain areas, but I think in pivotal areas they don't. So that's a horrible game. Where's that game at?
Washington. Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett are the 2 quarterbacks for.
Give me Washington.
Same. Then they host the Giants.
Giants.
Then they host the Dallas Cowboys. So their back-to-back is Oh, this is not the NFC, sorry. But they play 3 NFC East teams right off the get: Washington, New York, Dallas, which all 4 teams, Washington always somehow gets 6 or 7 wins, with Ron Rivera. But moving forward, they're game 3. They host the Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys win. Slaughter them.
Okay. Then it gets easier. They're at the 49ers and then host the Bengals. So that's a 3-game stretch. They have Dallas, San Fran, Cincy. We have them at 0-5.
Yeah, they're 0-5. And I guess at this point, and I don't even know how important this would be, but you do have to start. We have to start talking about if we sit in Kyler, or now that he comes back, whether or not he makes an impact on the next game. But go ahead. Who's the next team?
Then back-to-back road spots, Rams, Seahawks, divisional games.
Do they host the Rams?
No, it's back-to-back road spots.
Oh,
at
sorry.
Rams, then at Seahawks.
Yeah, this feels like 2 losses. Do I think they go 0-7? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, exactly. They come home for a nice visit from the Baltimore Ravens.
No bye yet, correct?
0-8. Their bye week is week 14.
God dang. No, that's a loss to the Ravens.
They're 0-8. We got them 0-8. We're about halfway through. Here is the half-point game in week 9 at the Cleveland Browns.
No, I like Cleveland. Sorry,
Would you say you like Cleveland there?
Cleveland.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, my bad.
Sorry.
Then they host the Falcons.
Oh, we already gave this game. Falcons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Week 11 at the Houston Texans. Rookie quarterback. Texans.
It's at Houston. I'd have to imagine by week 11, Houston feels decent about themselves, but Arizona does potentially have Kyler in this game. They're not
Is
going
Buddha
winless.
gone by now? Did they make trades at the deadline?
Yeah, but they're not going winless. Or are they? Give me Houston.
Okay, then they host the Rams.
I'm going to play to the fact that the Rams are healthy here, because I do think that they somehow bounce back. Excited to talk about them next. Loss.
I'm giving them their first win here.
Okay.
Against the Rams. Then they're at the Pittsburgh Steelers, December 3rd.
It's a W. No, that's a loss, man. I'm at 0-13 right now.
Okay, so they go to the bye at 1-12 for me. They come out of the bye to a home game, lovely, against the 49ers.
Off a bye at home. This spells a win, and it's against arguably one of the top 5 teams in the league. Man, this is a loss.
Yeah, also take this into account. December 24th and December 31st are their next 2 games, both on the road. Chicago, Philadelphia.
Who's their last game?
They host the Seahawks.
Last game of the year, Seattle. Seattle doesn't come to play, and Arizona gets 1 win.
Trying to be so the over-under set at 4. If I was generous, I could maybe get them 2-4 wins.
I think I could argue, like literally argue with somebody and play devil's advocate on 3 wins.
Yeah, so here's the other thing.
Washington, Houston, and one of the games against the Rams would be my 3 arguments.
So the thing I would say is, you have an argument. Let's say they get swept by the 49ers. Roster's too good. So between the Seahawks and Rams, they could go 2-2 simply because it's divisional games, and those things have a chance.
Yep.
But their 3 most winnable games you would think would be Washington, Houston, and Chicago, and all on the road. They're all 3 on the road. Like, about scheduling breaks and like 4.5. I have them at generously. I have them at 2 wins. What do you have them at?
I gave them a win, whether it be week 17, week 18, week 1. I'll give them 1 win. They are a 1-win football team, I think.
Okay, so we are both taking the under there. That's fascinating. But yeah, so if you guys are Cardinals fans and listeners of the podcast, you're not getting any. I mean, you're going to have to really earn some. I mean, Colt McCoy, like you did at Texas or something. Like I don't even know what's going to have to happen. But yeah,
Truthfully,
we are
though, the one thing, if you're a Cardinals fan, the one thing you can hold your hat on is Kyler Murray is such a dynamic player and such a great leader that when he comes back and the team's 0-7, he'll have a positive attitude and want to lead this team to success.
Also, you guys will believe that you have Kyler Murray, and because of the Houston Texans, next year, as of right now, I believe I've said this, and I believe I'm right. You guys can fact. Sorry if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure what I'm about to say is right. As of this moment, next year in the draft, the Cardinals have a first rounder, second rounder, third. They have 6 picks in the first 3 rounds. 2 of them are first rounders. If they can trade Buddha for a second or third rounder and something, but they have a potential to have even 7 picks in the top 3. So if you do believe in Kyler, which he's got his contract, and you have some offense, you're getting younger. You drafted a left tackle. You're moving. You have a defensive head coach. You draft 4 guys in the first 6 picks on defense. 2 of them hit. This team could, I'm just saying there's hope for the future, but 2023 is going to be a tough season. First year with the Sunday Ticket on YouTube, and the Cardinals aren't going to be being picked by a lot of people to watch their football games.
So, hypothetically speaking, we're a prediction-based podcast. Hypothetically speaking, this team drafts in the top 3 next year. Pretty damn good chance. And they have the Texans' first-round pick, correct?
Right.
Correct. And I don't think either of us are predicting the Texans to be world beaters. They may be decent.
Top 7th pick. 7th pick in the draft.
I mean, at best. So the Cardinals may end up with either the ability to draft Caleb Williams or Drake May.
or receive another 2 or 3 top 2 round picks, move back some spots, and you could be looking at the Cardinals with the 5th pick, 9th pick, 17th pick, a second rounder, and 3 third rounders, and just
because somebody just gave up the farm for Caleb Williams or Drake May. Yeah, totally.
Cardinals could be in a great spot there, but we tried to give a little bit of a thing there by saying, guys, in a few years, but
this you suck
year,
right now.
The Cardinals are back.
Yeah. Rams, you ready?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. So we had them both less than 4.5 wins. That's what that they were projected at. So
yeah, I'd also urge everyone to stay away from the plus 2,400 to win their division.
Yeah, guys, unless you're making a $10 bet to try and win $240, just like save the $10 on 2 hot and readies or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
LA Rams in 2022, they were 5-12, 1-5 in division. Their adds: wide receiver Tyler Johnson from the Buccaneers, tight end Henry Long via trade with, I believe this was with the Dolphins for the Jalen Ramsey trade. Wide receiver Demarcus Robinson comes over from the Chiefs. Quarterback Stetson Bennett, 2-time national champion at Georgia. Wanted to throw that in there. I think that was a notable draft pick there. He wasn't highly drafted, but it is notable. Get ready for the losses. Just pull out your pen and paper here. Pass rusher, outside linebacker, whatever you want to call him, Leonard Floyd. Hall of Fame middle linebacker Bobby Wagner. Wide receiver Allen Robinson. Cornerback, all-pro player Jalen Ramsey. Quarterback Baker Mayfield. Safety Taylor Rep. So, man,
big name.
One more thing before I throw it over to you. As far as the notes for this team, the injury bug, obviously. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald. They're three best players. They're three highest paid players, injury bug. But they are just 2 years removed for a Super Bowl, so that has to count for something. Go ahead and take it away.
What I did want to say, I'm not going to list all the names, but the Los Angeles Rams draft. Guard, linebacker, D-line, quarterback, linebacker, tackle, tight end, wide receiver, corner, linebacker, running back, punter, safety, D-line. They had, I believe, 14 draft picks this year. I don't know if all of them are making the team or if all of them are studs. Or it's a lot of rounds 3 through 7 that they pick these guys, but there's going to be a ton of new faces on the Rams. I'm skeptical about the Rams. I'm very. I don't believe in the Rams really. I think the Matt Stafford injury scares me too much. The type of injury he had in his back. I know it's repaired and everything, but some of the things I hear of people who had similar injuries, or anybody who listens to the Pat McAfee show, they have a lineman on there, A.Q. Shipley, who played for the Buccaneers, whose career was cut short because of this same injury. Matt Stafford's going to play through it. He's always been a tough guy, and I don't know that he necessarily will feel pain out there. But I believe any hit could send Matt done for the season. I don't like to predict injuries, but that's that. Also, last year, I pointed this out with the Cardinals, but last season, they were 5-12. When Matt Stafford was their leading passer, they were 3-6. So it wasn't like Matt Stafford, obviously they're 2-6 without Stafford, but they were 3-6 with him. So Baker Mayfield really played well in that sense. But I believe this team had a magical year to win this. And then all the cap stuff and players leaving, it's starting to catch up with them. Jalen Ramsey and Bobby Wagner leaving are huge because we used to say it's Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, a bunch of guys. Then Bobby came. It didn't work out, even though he still produced good numbers. You have Aaron Donald, so the defense isn't awful. But you could say Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, maybe they have a magical record-breaking year again. In this division, I think this team is third best. Maybe would change that. Matt Stafford can't move very well. I still think this is a bad offensive line. Ever since Andrew Whitworth left, this offensive line has been kind of in shambles. I like the Cam Akers. He kind of really came back. He had fumbling issues, but he's a decent running back. But I just believe this team can now commit every resource to Cooper Kupp and feel comfortable about getting to the 20-point mark against this defense. So also Sean talks of him potentially leaving for a broadcasting job. I know he said he's committed to coaching and he's back, but if things start to go bad, how much do Stafford and McVay really start to think about hey, this is just it? Cooper Kupp, love what he does, but this is the second time he's hurt his knee now in his career, and it's just tough to be an optimistic person for me about this team. I just think they're going to have some spots where Rams killed that team, but then I think they're just going to have more where it's how did they get beat by 14 against so-and-so?
Yeah, no, I think that's all fair. It's all fair. The thing is, before we get into this schedule prediction, I just think you almost have to state it now. Do you think this is an injured team or do you think this is a healthy team?
I think it's an injured team.
Okay, I agree. And I'm going to make my predictions based off of just injuries. And we don't predict injuries, but, Nick Wright says something all the time. He says, so if you were to have a trip to go across country, okay, and he says it's about the Clippers, but I'm going to use it for the Rams right now. So if you were planning a trip to go across country, okay, and you had a car that consistently broke down and you took it across country and it broke down, would you say that was expected or unexpected?
Expected.
It's expected.
You got to account for it.
You knew this was going to happen. You just did it anyway, okay? If you bought a brand new car at the dealership and you were going to go across country and it broke down, you'd be like, what the hell? This is so unexpected. We were not planning for this. Obviously, you weren't planning for it. It was a brand new car. You expected this to work. You cannot anticipate this Rams team to just be fully healthy. And if that's where you're at, then...
Also, it's again, it just seems like a Rams team where you're Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp have to ball out every
every game.
week, Aaron Donald has to be the defensive player of the year for them to make the playoffs. Like they're going to have 3 or 4 guys that we don't really know have tremendously like over their expectation seasons. And I don't know if they can do it. They also, I'm looking at for the first time their first 9 games to their bye week. They have one of the toughest opening schedules here, I think, in the league.
Yeah, this was a team coming off a Super Bowl that we were super high on. Unfortunately, they've become the injured team that every year we just expect them to be injured again. So let's go ahead and let's take it away. Don't give your over and under till after.
You got it. Okay, so here's where we start. At Seattle, 425. At the Seahawks. Bobby Wagner versus his former
Yeah,
team,
but here's the thing. This is a week 1 matchup. Divisional win. The Rams don't know they're injured yet. I like the Seahawks, but not in this spot. Give me the Rams with a big road win week 1.
Seahawks win.
Okay.
Week 2, they go back home, host the 49ers.
Yeah, they have struggled to beat the 49ers. I don't see that changing. Give me the Niners here.
Then they have a Monday nighter at the Bengals.
That's a fun game. Super Bowl rematch, right? Yeah, Super Bowl rematch. But it's at the Bengals. Bengals are going to be rowdy. They're going to want this one. Bengals.
On a short week at Cincinnati, they probably stay out on the East Coast. They play the Indianapolis Colts on a short week.
Totally think this is a winnable game. I think the Colts are one of those conversational teams that need a lot of work before we can start contending. I think the Rams are better today, especially in week 4.
Then they go back home and host the Eagles.
Yeah, at home. It's a great spot for them. Unfortunately, the Eagles are better. So I like the Eagles there.
Week 6, this is the start of a 3-game homestand for the Rams. So they lose to the Eagles, then they host the Cardinals. That as a win.
Yep, they're at 3-3.
For me, the Rams first
feeling all right.
For me, that's the Rams' first win.
I think you're being tough on them. They're beating the Colts, man. They're beating the Colts.
That's the thing, though. Like, if it was in a vacuum and you just went up and you're like, dude, if the Rams and Colts play today, who wins? I'm not going to tell you you're wrong for playing Rams, and the Rams could still win this game. But you play the 49ers, which is a team that physically will beat you up. You travel out to the Bengals, and then on a short week have to. I just think that's a tough ask on a back-to-back road spot. I think the Colts got best case scenario to see the Rams. It's a situational thing. So I have them at 1-5. You have them at 3-3.
Yep.
Okay, 3-3. Then they host the Steelers October 22nd.
Yeah, at home against the Steelers. Steelers are still trying to trend up. I don't think the Rams are fully injured yet. I like the Rams in this spot, 4-3.
1-6. Then they are at the Dallas Cowboys.
Getting later in the year, they're seeing a better football team. I like the Cowboys, 4-4.
And then back-to-back road spot, they're at the Green Bay Packers after that.
That's an interesting game. Packers feel like the play, but if Stafford's the quarterback going into Green Bay, he's got some history there. Give me the Rams, but I don't think too many more wins after this. I got them matching their win total from last year.
So that's funny. I have them at 2-7 going into the bye, which might be harsh. It is what it is. Their bye week is week 10, right in the middle. I think they have a much more favorable schedule after the bye week. So you said you don't see many more wins. I think you will. So they come out of the bye week, and now they host Seattle.
They're losing to Seattle. At this point, okay, Seattle is humming.
I'm splitting with Seattle just in a different way. Sean McVay off of a bye at home against the Seahawks. I like the Rams there. Then November 26th, the next week they're at the Cardinals.
Yeah, they're getting another win here, so they got 6 wins now.
Now they host the Browns.
I just think the Rams are beat up at this point. The Rams are not as
Zadarius
bad
Smith,
as
Myles
everybody
Garrett
says. Yeah, the Browns feel like
against
they
that
win here.
O-line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they're at Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Then they host the Commanders.
They're beating the Commanders.
I think they can do that too. Then they back-to-back home games here after Commanders. They play the Saints Thursday night football. Short week, but they get to stay at home. Saints go out to LA.
Saints.
Then you have at the New York Giants just first.
I mean, this is Giants regress. Rams are beat up at this point, but I think they're potentially better. I'm gonna take the Rams.
And then they finish up at the San Francisco 49ers after that.
Yeah, they're losing. So I got them at 8-9, which feels like a. Go ahead.
I'm at 6-11.
Yeah, I like them at 8-9. That honestly feels like a good record. 7-10, 8-9. That feels. I feel like I hit that on the head.
Well, they're over under 7.5.
I hit it on the head, dude. I hit it on the head.
And you took so which means you're going to take the over for them at 8 or under at 7. You come out one way or the other.
I would bet the under because I think it's more likely they're hurt than they're healthy. I said I was gonna predict them to be hurt, but I almost was picking like they were healthy. That'll come back to bite me.
I'm not gonna lie, I had them at 6-11, and I think somewhere in there I was just like, I'll give them another win if they're healthy. But I really think this is a 5-12 or 6-11 team. I think their ceiling is 7-10. Again, I just think, I don't like this roster. I don't like their health. O-line is not good. I think that's a big problem.
In my opinion, elite football coaches don't get run out the building in this league. They're going to win games. Games they shouldn't win.
Yeah, got 5 of them last year.
Yeah. I mean, does that count for anything? He won with Baker Mayfield when Baker Mayfield wasn't even in the building.
I think Wise better than Baker the way he's played the last 2 years after the Super Bowl.
He's played 1 year at the Super Bowl.
Or the last year after the Super Bowl. I mean, he was the Super Bowl run, there was like a healthy stretch during the middle of that year where Matt Stafford was like causing them losses.
I don't know. I just think he's worth 2 to 3 touchdowns on a Sunday, I think.
I just think the loss of Jalen Ramsey is going to be a lot.
I agree.
For them to. I think that's just as big. This team on defense is losing Bobby Wagner, who probably I don't have in front, probably had 100 tackles last year. It's Bobby Wagner. And Jalen Ramsey, who nobody has outside the top 5 corners in the league. Most wouldn't have him outside the top 3. I think he's top 2, and I don't think he's number 1. He's number 2. I have him number 2. But still.
Yeah, Sauce number 1?
No, I have Patrick Surtain as number 1. I think it's Pat Surtain, Jalen Ramsey, Sauce Gardner. I really like Tariq Woolen. There's some other guys I don't want to leave them out. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, so I'm not going to commit to that list. But I think Sauce, Pat Surtain, and Jalen Ramsey are the top 3.
You ready?
Yeah. By the way, if you guys did want to know, Cardinals plus 2,400, Rams are plus 1,000. So to win 100 on Sean McVay and Matt Stafford getting it done, that seems like a pretty good value bet. If you just want to try.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you think that the Rams are going to stay healthy, that's a massive value bet. Because this team could win the division if the Niners can't get their quarterback situation right. If the Seahawks take a step back and the Rams are healthy, I think this team could win the division. Those things feel unlikely to me. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Seattle Seahawks. Their 2022 campaign, they were 9-8, 4-2 in division. And they were number 7 seed in the playoffs. They lost to the 49ers in the wild card to make them 0-3 against the Niners last year. In the offseason, they did re-sign Geno Smith to a 3-year deal. I think he got $100-ish million. Okay. So now they go out and they get defensive tackle Jaron Reed, linebacker Devin Bush. They got linebacker Bobby Wagner, which feels weird that he ever left. And I'll circle back to this. Their drops, defensive end Shelby Harris, who they brought over in the Broncos trade. They lose him. Defensive end Quentin Jefferson, gone. Cornerback Ryan Neal, gone. So the news and notes I have for this team is the reason I wanted to circle back. This team had a massive 2022 draft. They drafted multiple players that played day one for them and basically played the whole year. Some made Pro Bowls. I think that this team had a great top-end draft. I think there's 3 dudes that play right away. Wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, arguably the best wide receiver in the draft, fell in this draft. People didn't value receivers, or maybe they thought it was a weak receiver draft. He falls to this team, who was already loaded at wide receiver. They got center Olu Oluwatumi. He won the Remington Award last year for Michigan, was a top tier. He was the best center in the country, best offensive lineman in the country. Just a tremendous player. Has an opportunity to start right away. And then running back Zach Charbonnet. Freshman year, goes to Michigan, scores the freshman record for rushing touchdowns, gets homesick, goes back to UCLA, and balls out for them under Chip Kelly, leaves early for the draft. This is a good player. This is a NFL-ready running back. I think that they have a potential to literally follow up 2022 with this 2023 team. They added a big receiver. It's already loaded wide receiver room. Another news and note, Jamal Adams, after trading for him, has been up and down, but last year he played 1 game. So anything else on the Seahawks? Take it away.
No, I think so. The Seahawks had that. I mean, they started the season and we just shit on them in the preseason. We had, remember, we had them in the, at least I did. I had them in the Giants being awful. It's getting chirped at from Kyle, shout out. And they just, every single, as much as I was high in the Eagles, I was just kind of eating it from the Seahawks. And it's like, hey, they're just better than I thought. And then I know they made the playoffs, but the Seahawks finished the season 3-5. And their 3 wins were Rams, Jets. And this is not Jets with Aaron Rodgers. And 2 of those 3 were at home. They sneaked into the playoffs and then got beat in the first round.
Which is, real quick, it's funny that one of their wins was against the Jets, because the Jets lost, I think, their last 7 games, or 6 of their last 7, or they were horrendous in the second half of the year. So the fact they beat the Jets is like, it's horrible win.
Yeah, exactly. And 2 times against the Rams, no Matt Stafford. It was Baker. 1 was at home. So, but then they hit this lull into the offseason, and like Jeff pointed out, they slaughtered the draft. Easily one of the 3 best drafts of the entire night. They crushed the first round. They got Tariq Woolen, Pro Bowl corner last year, and now this offseason they had Devin Quandre Diggs. I think you might even see Jamal Adams play, like maybe he already did, but way more linebacker. Their rush defense was 30th in the NFL, and they essentially add Jamal Adams and Bobby Wagner this year. You pointed out Jamal only played 1 game last year. So I think this defense, even if they were 14th against the pass, 30th against the rush. Let's say that goes to 10 and 15. 10th against the pass, 15th against the rush. That turns this offense. And an offense in which they have, without a doubt, the best 3 in the league. And their number 1, who is it? Could be anyone any given week. Yeah. DK Metcalf. And these all 3 guys that I believe can take a 3-yard pass 70 yards to the end zone. Kenneth Walker didn't even really play much at the beginning of the year. Then he ends with 1,050 yards and 9 touchdowns. Really came on late. Zach Charbonnet, I mean, wise, the running back position is going to be tough, I think, for the Seahawks, because Charbonnet probably will snatch up some touchdowns from Kenneth Walker. But, I mean, this team goes as Gino goes. I mean, it's all there. Defensive head coach, got enough pieces to be doable on defense. The veteran leadership there mixed with young studs. In this offense, Noah Fant, Will Dissly's come around a little bit. Decent O-line. Quarterback can move, been around. You know, it was cool when it was going. They wrote me off. I didn't write back. It's going sweet. We crushed Russ week 1, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, man, then teams started kind of figuring you out. Like, let's see if they can turn this thing back around. But on paper, I like the Seahawks. I think the NFC West, to me, is cut into two series. 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals. Not that they're all just as good or as bad, but I think, for me, this division going into it, I thought it would be really hard to get me off of a clear structure and prediction of 1, 2, 3, 4. Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. We'll see when the schedule, because again, I like to keep it and wait to look at it till we do our predictions here on the breakdown, kind of surprise us both and go through it. But last season, the Seahawks were 9-8. I don't see them doing worse than that this year. I don't know how much better, but I don't see them losing. I don't see them going below 500 with this roster.
Yeah, take it away.
Let me get the schedule up. And here. Now, we already talked about this one. Week 1, they open up at hosting the Rams.
Yeah, I have them splitting with the Rams. That just feels like a loss week 1 to a healthy Rams team.
Okay. So I have them at 1 win, but again, we'll split with the Rams later. So 1. Then week 2 at the Detroit Lions.
Week 2 last year. It was either week 2 or week 3. It was in the first 5 games of the year.
Hanger.
They went to Detroit, and it was one of the games of the year.
Hanger.
Similar, but they win again.
Yeah, the Seahawks adding a second good corner and Detroit being down Jamison Williams the first 6 games. They would have liked to seen the Seahawks later in the year. But as we will find out later in the podcast, really big on the Detroit Lions. They're going to win. Week 3, they host the Panthers.
Oh, they're a million times better than the Panthers.
I like the Panthers. And then week 4, Monday night, Seahawks at the Giants.
Ooh, that's a fun game. Give me the Seahawks, though.
You have them 4-0.
I have them 3-1. I have them losing to the Rams.
Oh, that's right. And I have them losing to the Lions. So we both have them 3-1. Here's where it kind of sucks for the Seahawks. Bye week 5. Right now.
Yeah, that's not good.
Already bye week 5. There are some teams so I will say they have they got a 5-game stretch that's tough later in the year. Here we go, we'll get to it. Come out of the bye week at the Bengals. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and the boys go up against those young corners.
Yeah, I think this is a super fun. When's that game played? Do you have that in front of you?
1 o'clock, October 15th.
Wow. So West Coast teams going to East Coast teams. We don't have Russell Wilson anymore. I know they're coming off a bye. Bengals are better. This feels like a loss to me.
It's tough because the Bengals lost so much in their secondary, and they made up for it on O-line and their position groups on offense and Joe Burrow, and this team's going to be elite offensively. But the Seahawks oddly match up Pete Carroll off of a bye. I think this is crazy, but I think this is a Seahawks win.
Okay.
Bengals are a better team, again, out of a vacuum. Then we're going to go, they host the Cardinals.
They host the Cardinals. Cardinals destroy them.
Shoot.
Seahawks by a lot.
Then they host the Browns. Kind of like them.
Yeah,
here.
Browns going to the West. I like the Seahawks here. 5 wins, 5-2. They're feeling good about themselves.
At the Ravens, that running game, Lamar Jackson versus a front 7 that's better but not elite. Gino versus.
Here's the thing now.
John boys.
I like the Ravens. Like, very excited to talk about the Ravens. The Ravens are not going to be a pass team. They're still going to be a run team, despite what everybody thinks this team's going to do.
Yeah.
Seahawks are great against the run. Seahawks on the road, big road dub.
That's the thing. Seahawks last year were 30th against the run. Now they've got Bobby Wagner, but even if he cuts it, I like the Ravens here. I'm going to give the Seahawks a loss. This is fun. They host the Commanders. Dub.
They're beating the Commanders. I had them 7-2. That's wild.
Okay, so here was the 5, and you could make it 7. Their last 9 games have a 5-game brutal stretch. I think you could extend it to 9, depending on how you feel about just putting your trust in Vrabel. I know we both are really down on the Titans. But here we go. They're at the Los Angeles Rams. We have them splitting, so I'm giving them a loss.
This time
here.
I have them winning, yep.
Okay. Then Thursday night football hosts the 49ers.
Niners win.
Yes. Then the following week they play Thursday night again. So I'm assuming one of these are Thanksgiving. But the next week, Thursday, at the Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Then the following Sunday at the 49ers.
Niners again. Just like that, they've lost 2 in a row. They're down on themselves.
Then they host the Eagles.
Eagles come into town.
So
they beat them.
5 games at Rams, home at the 49ers, at Cowboys, at 49ers, home against the Eagles. That's a tough 5. I have them losing all 5 of those actually, but I have 7 wins with 3 games left for them.
I think I had them going 1-4.
Then they're at the Tennessee Titans.
I think they can beat the Titans.
Then December 31st they host the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I mean this feels like this is a coin flip game, but I like the Seahawks at home.
I feel like I feel like this game, December 31st at Seattle, is going to have big playoff implications for both teams. Like there's a must-win game for both teams.
Yeah.
And then they finish at the Arizona Cardinals.
Real quick, just because you're a Steeler fan, we'll talk. I feel like this is Kenny Pickett's never played at CenturyLink before. Like that's what this feels like to me. Seahawks win.
He's never played there, and also he's probably going to be going up against the best set of corners potentially on if Devin Witherspoon is who we think he is, and Tariq Woolen's the guy that we know he is. That's going to be tough. The defensive matchup against Geno Smith last year, the game went into overtime. I think we played him last year when T.J. Watt had the strip sack against Geno to win the game.
Yeah.
It was a close game last year. Both teams, I feel like, improved a little bit. It should be a really, really good game. As a homer pick, I'm going to give it to the Steelers late in the game. Got to have it. Yeah. But you're right. This is a totally losable game. At the Cardinals, I have them winning. So I have them going 9-8 again. I have them going back-to-back. 9-8 seasons.
I have them at 11-6.
Ooh.
I was being nice. I think I'm being nice, but at the same time, it feels right.
If I had 9, if I had to change it, I would go higher, like 9 or 10 wins. I think 8 is their floor, and that's what I gave them.
I almost feel like I gave them their ceiling at 11.
So we have them from 8 to 11 wins. What do you
Unless
think?
Geno Smith literally is a resurgence, then they could get 12 wins.
That's another reason. Like, and maybe this is a minor spoiler for a future pod that you guys may listen to from us. I have Kenny Pickett above Geno Smith in my predictive quarterback rankings. Not that I have Kenny Pickett as the 8th best quarterback, but I think Geno had a great 9-game stretch, and then at the end of the year, really couldn't get much going, as to where Kenny finished last year in the opposite direction. Also, I mean, we'll get to the AFC North. That'll be way later because that AFC North and East, spoiler, will be the last 2 divisions because they're both really our 2 favorite teams. So 8-9, 11-6. What do you think the over/under is?
9-5.
It is 8.5. Is their over/under? So you would really like the over here, I think.
Man, maybe win 9.5 felt like the right play. You said it's 8.5.
Yes. 9 and 8 wins this.
8.5 is sub 500. I don't know how you see this team as sub 500. That's tough.
Hold on. I wrote it down wrong. I have 9 tallies. I wrote it down when I was reading. I have them at 9 and 8, not 8 and 9.
Yeah, but what does Vegas have them at? 8.5, right?
Right. So I have the over as well. Like you have them at 11 wins. I have them at 9. I said I had them at their floor with the way I graded them.
Yeah.
Wrong on accident. I have them at 9 and 8.
One thing that I feel like I'm doing, and I'm not trying to do this, the team that I'm predicting, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and giving them wins. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like today, I gave the Seahawks a win over the Ravens, but I could here in 6 weeks, I'd be like, yeah, Ravens smash them. You know what I mean?
And but that's it's fun.
Yeah. All right. Niners, you ready?
Nope. Just one last thing. The Seahawks to win the division are plus 200. I think that's a terrible bet. That's not enough payout for. I don't know. I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not. Here's the thing: if you're guaranteeing Seahawks, yeah, throw some cash down, make some money. But I mean, it's the odds there are not really in your favor.
Mm-mm.
All right, San Francisco. The 49ers in 2022 went 13-4. Divisional record of 6-0. Winners of 10 in a row to end the season. They go in the playoffs and they beat Seattle, divisional foe. They go and they played Dallas and they beat Dallas at home. And then they lost in the NFC title game against Philadelphia, in which they were on their, I don't even know, 4th-string quarterback. Yeah, it was bad. This team started the year with Trey Lance. He gets hurt. They move to Jimmy Garoppolo. He plays for a long time, plays well, gets hurt. Brock Purdy comes in, goes undefeated, gets hurt in the playoff game. Josh Johnson comes in, throws, I think, 17 passes. He gets hurt, and they have to run the rest of the game with Christian McCaffrey at quarterback until Brock Purdy comes in just to simply hand the ball off. Very sad ending to what was a very promising and dominant season, honestly. With that said, here's what they added. Wide receiver Willie Snead. Quarterback Sam Darnold. They need more quarterbacks, obviously. Defensive end Colin Farrell out of Clemson. He comes over from Vegas. Highly drafted player, unsuccessful in Vegas. Interesting to see how he does here because this team is they bring pass rushers in and they just dog teams. Austin Bryant comes over from Detroit. Their biggest splash, Javon Hargrave from Philadelphia, defensive line acquisition. That's a massive bring in. And then I had to say this, kicker Jake Moody in the draft out of Michigan, best kicker in the draft, dog, absolute beast, clutch kicker.
They also got Ronnie Bell.
They did also bring in Ronnie Bell. Nothing against Ronnie Bell. I love Ronnie Bell, but I just didn't think he's the contributor that Jake Moody will be this year. But yes, they brought in Ronnie Bell.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, just Michigan guy. I just figured I'd throw it out there.
Yeah. As far as drops, quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo finally out of the building. Not just saying they're going to get rid of him. They finally moved on from him. He signs with the Raiders. Cornerback Jason Barrett gone. Wide receiver Jordan Matthews gone. Safety Jimmy Ward gone. What I believe to be a Hall of Fame kicker, Robbie Gould, out of the building. He's gone. Offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey gone. Solid offensive tackle, by the way. Quarterback depth as of today, and I felt like this would be a fun topic to discuss. Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold. Agree, disagree there. First off, before we even get into that, anything to add for ads and drops?
Did you say E.J. Mosley?
I did not.
So E.J. Mosley and Jimmy Ward are gone from their secondary.
Yeah.
They try and compensate with Javon Hargrave, but that's all I had to add was they lost a safety and a corner who are both really good.
Yeah. So going into this season, their QB depth chart, in my opinion, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree. I think Sam Darnold's the second string. I've told everyone who wants to ask, if Brock Purdy cannot play week 1, Sam Darnold will start.
Is that crazy?
No, he was overdrafted. Trey Lance. I mean, it's just like I kind of had a conversation with a guy on Facebook, and I will say one thing. We've said it multiple times here today. This is a prediction-based podcast. Sports at the end of the day are trivial. So the thing that you are really competing for is to be like, hey man, told you. So I don't really know where people want to get into an argument like, oh well, he could be good or bad. We'll just have to see. It's like, how fun is it to just like not, come out with a stance. So I'm coming out with my stance. I don't think Trey Lance is good. Well, he was good in college. Yeah, against like guys who decided to not play basketball in college, or like he wasn't in top tier college football. And then he comes to the NFL, gets overdrafted, I think. And then it's like, oh, he has accuracy issues, but he's an elite athlete. Well, then and now it's like, hey guys, I don't think he's the athlete we thought he was, or this or that. And you watch the way the team talked about Trey Lance, and it was like, George Kittle gets online, and it was like, yeah, man, he makes some throws that you don't really see from a lot of guys and stuff. And then Brock Purdy's there, and George Kittle can't even sit down. He's like, we got our leader. Trey Lance doesn't seem like the leader in the locker room, nor does he have like just the skill. And you look at Brock Purdy, and he reminds me of a guy in a different way. You take Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers or like Tom Brady, most of the guys who like they took like schools that weren't dominated with talent and made them better than what they were supposed to be. For the past like 4 or 5 years, it's like Iowa State's awful, but they got Brock Purdy, so they got a shot. And it wasn't like Iowa State was ever dominant, but like you had to respect Brock Purdy. And he got in the NFL, and whatever the system is, wherever it's at, he was undefeated with this 49ers team. And we've always said you give him confident quarterback play, it can make some throws. And Brock Purdy made some throws. He didn't just do some simple stuff. This is Brock Purdy's team. We know that. But if Trey Lance has had a full year of recovery and is healthy, you get rid of Jimmy G. I think they hope Trey Lance balls out in the preseason so they can get a 5th-round pick for him. I do not think he plays for the 49ers. And I also think it hurts him that Kyle Shanahan, I don't think ever wanted it. I think Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones, as all the reports say. So I am not, going back to maybe this the Facebook stuff, but I am not actively rooting against Trey Lance. And if people show me flash in the pan, I'll still say, jury's still out. I think he could be good, but he's not. Trey Lance at no point ever has shown me anything that gives me faith to believe that he's going to be a good player in the NFL. Sam Darnold has shown me a few things, and he was in a train wreck with the head coaches at the Panthers. And I've seen Sam Darnold have some games where it's like, that's the guy that was drafted 3rd or 2nd overall for a reason, 3rd overall whenever he went. So it's just like him with, I think that Sam Darnold, if he's given the first month of the season with Kyle Shanahan after an offseason, it might even be hard to put Purdy back in. I think Sam Darnold could have a Geno Smith type resurgence early this year. And for whatever that's worth, I'm looking at ESPN. Trey Lance is 3rd on the depth chart as well.
That's crazy. It's crazy. This team does have a damn near Pro Bowl team, though. RB1, CMC, wide receiver 1, Deebo Samuel, wide receiver 2, Brandon Ayuk, tight end 1, George Kittle. I mean, not to mention Kyle Juszczyk at fullback, probably the best the best fullback / utility player in the league.
Yeah.
This is a great team.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame left tackle Trent Williams.
We say it every year. It is. We think the Falcons might win 11 games, and we call them the poor man's 49ers.
Yeah.
And we talk about Christian McCaffrey, running back, receiver, quarterback, Deebo, running back, wide receiver, George Kittle, fullback, tight end, receiver, Kyle Juszczyk, fullback, running back, wide receiver. Like, they all play everything. And Brandon Ayuk had a little out season last year.
Have you heard a timetable for Brock Purdy?
Some people have said maybe week 1, but I think it's going to be I think they're looking at October. I think it's like game 4 or 5. You look at game 4, middle of a 3-game homestand, host the Cardinals. I think that could be a good spot.
Yeah, it looks like Len, Shanahan, and Purdy are all optimistic he could be ready for week 1.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I will tell you, if Brock Purdy is ready for week 1, I don't think they take Trey Lance on their roster into the season. I think it'll be Brock and Sam.
Think they just move him?
I do. I think Trey Lance is get reps with the. I think Sam Darnold will get reps with the first team. Trey Lance maybe. I don't even know how they do it. I just feel like I have to think that they're hoping Trey Lance does well in the preseason so that he has a trade market again, because it's almost disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo was able to win a bunch of games and didn't have any market. Trying to think of other quarterbacks. There's so many quarterbacks lately that just haven't had a market.
Yeah.
Who was one that just recently changed teams that didn't have a market? Baker, obviously, but that doesn't count.
Taylor Heineke went to the Falcons. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of quarterbacks who would move teams. I don't think people are out there just like fighting for Taylor Heineke.
I mean, Daniel Jones literally hit the open market and nothing. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take away the schedule.
All right. Pull it up here.
This is gonna be gonna get repetitive.
Okay. Well, I will say that week 1, with if it's not Brock Purdy, new quarterback week 1, but they are at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would say if you want the 49ers, you want them earlier if Brock Purdy's not playing. I think Brock Purdy's their best. Tough one for the Steelers here week 1.
Yeah, Steelers, to their credit, their winning percentage shoots through the moon when TJ Watt is on the field. And you would imagine he would be on the field week 1. This is a much improved Steelers team, and I'm excited to talk about the Steelers with you. But this is the 49ers win.
I also think, not that matters to the win, but I think this is the first 6 years that the Steelers will be at home week 1.
Really?
It's been like a long time. I think it's a long time. Gosh.
First off, I absolutely love this week 1 matchup.
Yeah, also Mike McGlinchey's gone at right tackle, and that's where TJ Watt's at.
Yeah. Shout out Dave Hazelton, listens to the pod every week, big Steeler fan. He has been anybody that'll listen, he hasn't shut up. He says Steelers are winning week 1, beating the Niners.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So here's what I'm gonna do. Steelers are winning week 1, but it's hard for me to explain without having broken down the team, because I don't think people realize like how much improved the Steelers are. And like you said, when TJ's on the field, they win like 77% of their games. Fucking, I'll be a homer, dude. I'll be a homer. Shit.
You're allowed.
My pocket. Hey guys, Steelers 17-0. What are we even talking about? All right. So I have them 0-1. Then they're at the Rams.
Win.
3-game homestand. Giants.
Win.
Cardinals.
Slaughter.
That's a Thursday nighter, by the way. No, I'm sorry.
Cardinals...
The Giants. The Giant night. Sorry. Giants was Thursday night. Then they get a long week into the Cardinals, and then they host the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh.
Sunday night. Week 5 Sunday night. Cowboys Niners.
This is the Cowboys upset. Week 5 Cowboys get them.
I like the Niners here, but either way, we've got them both 4-1 through the
Yep.
first 5 games.
Yep.
Then they have 2 road games back to back. The Cleveland Browns.
Win.
Like it. Then the Minnesota Vikings at Minnesota, but it's Monday night, and you know what that means. Kirk under the lights.
Niners.
Then Sunday, 4:25, they host the Cincinnati Bengals.
This is a great game. Give me the Bengals, though.
I'll put it up. Yeah, I like the Bengals here. Then they go into their bye week. Great spot for their bye. Week 9, right in the middle. Come out of the bye at the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh, great game. Coming out of the bye, I'll give them the win. But Jacksonville's sneaky here. Jacksonville is sneaky here.
I know that the 49ers have that great front 7, but looking at Trevor Lawrence and the receiving core he's got, I think Trevor Lawrence has a big day against the 49ers, the Jags at home. Why am I giving them a win if I said they're going to lose? It's weird. All right. Then they host the Buccaneers. Dub.
Beating the Bucs.
Then Thursday night at the Seattle Seahawks.
I had them sweeping the Seahawks. That doesn't change.
Same. Followed up with another road game December 3rd at the Philadelphia Eagles. NFC Championship game rematch. Brock and Javon Hargrave comes to his old team.
Dude, I'm sorry. This screams Niners to me. Niners upset.
Eagles win. Sunday, December 10th, they host the Seahawks. We said they sweep.
Yep.
Then they're at the Cardinals. Dub.
Sweeping.
Then Monday night, Christmas Day. Monday night, they host the Baltimore Ravens.
Fantastic game. Super Bowl rematch from several years ago. Harbaugh brothers. Yeah. They host the Ravens.
I like the Niners. Yeah, and like we said, Ravens like to run. This 49ers front 7 is busted.
Yeah. No, Niners are the play here, but this is a great game. Love that.
At the Commanders.
Win.
Dub. And then they finish it off hosting the Rams.
So here's the thing. They're currently 14-2. I would imagine this is enough to lock this up. They could throw this last game. I'll give Sam Darnold in a backup role the W. 15-2. I have this team. Filth. Pure filth.
Well, I'll tell you what. Last week, I told you that when we were going through, I absolutely loved taking the under on the Panthers. Might feel stronger about this one. The 49ers over-under.
Don't tell me. The way
Depends
that
on what you think about their
that.
quarterbacks.
The way you just presented that. I think it's this, but based off what you're saying, it's not 9.5, is it? Okay. Is it 10.5?
It is.
That feels
but
like
I have
the
them
play.
at 13-4. Like, you're telling me this team can lose 6 games and I can still hit the over? Tell me this team can lose 6 games and still hit the over.
Let me ask you this. You just basically shit on Trey Lance. If Trey Lance is a starting quarterback, would you still bet the over?
Like, he's starting all 16 games?
Yeah.
Probably.
That's what I'm saying. He's probably their worst quarterback.
I mean, to some degree, I'm still holding a little bit of a reserve on even Brock.
Yeah.
Because,
why?
Well, it's just a little bit because, like, if you were to say, take the quarterback off every team, I don't even know if it's close that the 49ers would be the best. I mean, there's a couple teams, like, top to bottom with their roster, but, like, Brock's fantastic, and we celebrated Brock. I still think he's good. Sometimes I wonder, and I'm like, if Brock played for the Saints, would we be talking about him the same way?
Interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I think I would. Like I said, I love the 49ers. They lost in a game to, I don't know, you could say monsoon, but they lost to the Bears last year.
With Trey Lance.
Yeah.
With Trey Lance.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So, like,
Yeah.
oh, man. Actually, let's see. You want to go through it with Trey Lance real quick? Go through the schedule of Trey Lance as the quarterback.
Let's do it. Why not?
At the Steelers. Loss.
It's a loss. Yeah. Yeah.
At the Rams. Still think that's a win.
No, I don't. Week 2? No. Trey Lance, I'll give it to the Rams here.
Thursday night, host the Giants.
Yeah, they're back on track. They started 0-2. They're pissed. They win.
They host the Cardinals. They win again.
They win again.
They lose to Dallas.
They're losing to Dallas, yep.
At Cleveland, you have Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith off the edge.
Yeah.
Weaker right tackle, but they're left tackles.
Browns can't run against them. I'll take the Niners here.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. At Minnesota, I don't think they're going to be very good this year. I don't.
Not in a night game. I'll still take the Niners.
We're gonna. Oh wait, I gotta put these Browns, Vikings. I forgot to tally put them there. We still have them losing to the Bengals.
Yeah, Bengals are beating them. Yep.
Bye week, they come out. They lose at Jacksonville. Then
not off a bye. They're still getting the dub.
Still gonna have them losing. They're gonna beat Tampa at home.
Yep.
Thursday night at Seattle. Trey Lance.
That's a loss.
Yeah, I think that's a loss.
Yeah.
At the Eagles.
Loss.
Host the Seahawks.
Seahawks, they'll take the W there at home.
Yeah, they'll split with them. At the Cardinals. Dub.
Win.
Chris, Monday night against the Ravens.
Gosh. Tough game.
No,
yeah.
Well, Marlon Humphreys, Kyle Hamilton on the back end.
Those won't matter. It'll be a running
Those
game.
Two
I'll
middle
still take the
linebackers,
Niners
Roquan
there.
Smith and Patrick Queen.
Yeah, I'll take the Niners.
With Trey Lance, I'm taking the Ravens there. I do think they win at Washington, and they win hosting the Rams, though.
So I literally have them at 11-6.
I have them at 10-7, which would be the under.
Goodness.
But I do think Trey Lance looks like, to me, it's a 3-win swing. Like taking Sam and Brock, and then moving to Trey. I still think that's a 3-win swing. By the way, this defense was second in the league against the run. I had just a couple stats about that. Added Javon Hargrave. So they have Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. Those 4 guys in their front 7. They were second rushing. They allowed 1,321 yards. That's second best. Third best was 1,566. 245 more yards allowed. Almost a whole 2 games of rushing. So the team that was in first, we'll get to them in the breakdown, but the 49ers and insert other ahead. Also, rushing first downs. The second best team against the run allowed 90 first downs running the ball last year. The 49ers allowed 77. So 13 ahead of second place. Last year, they only allowed 77 first downs rushing the football.
That's wild.
Just a little sneak
There's 17
preview.
games.
Yeah. And just preview, only 2 teams in the NFL. This is tied for best. 2 teams in the NFL allowed 7 rushing touchdowns last year. Third best is 9. The top 2 had 7 allowed rushing touchdowns. Who are the 2 teams? I'll give you 5 guesses to get the 2 teams.
Niners.
No.
Tampa.
No.
Eagles.
No.
What's the stat?
They only allowed 7 rushing touchdowns. The defense.
Is New England one of them?
Correct.
Are the Steelers the other one?
Correct. That's right. That's right. They don't cross right here. They don't gain another yard. Yep, 7 and 7.
Great. That's great.
Combined, they only allowed 14 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah, after you said that, I'm like, wait a minute. New England's defense was actually really good last year, and I'm excited to talk about their defense this year because I think it's going to be, it'll be pretty good.
By the way, the way we were talking about it, them to win the division is minus 165.
Which is pretty good odds, honestly. It's not too bad.
$160 to win 100. I'd feel pretty good about that on the 49ers if you're just kind of making one-off bets.
Yeah. So you could
what,
essentially
$50 win you about 25-ish?
Yeah.
Math, something like that.
Yeah.
48 would win you like 30 cancel.
Yeah, you got to feel pretty good about that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is the NFC West division breakdown. The poll results from the Facebook page. 85%, 18 total votes go to the Niners. 9%, 2 total votes go to the Seahawks. 4%, 1 vote to the Cardinals. And 0 votes for the Rams. So, yeah.
Let me do one thing real quick.
We do have a mailbag, but go ahead and do your thing.
I do want to let you know we've predicted 8 teams so far. You have 6 of them hitting the over. FanDuel odds.
Of course.
Which that doesn't mean it's awful. These records aren't crazy. For me, I have so far I have 5 overs and 3 unders. You're 6 and 2. Overs, unders.
Yeah.
Oh, before we were you about to do mailbag?
There's one mailbag question.
We can do that first. That's fine.
Kyla Miller, Seahawks fan, writes in. I think he's trolling here. Who has the strongest receiving core in this division?
If you want to count Kittle and McCaffrey in the receiving core,
that
Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk. They run 5 deep. But in terms of pure out and out receivers, I mean DK, Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. One of them let's say each team suffers 1 injury at the wide receiver position. I don't know how much it really affects the 49ers. Elijah Mitchell, they're just deeper. But in a standard operation, you have a running back, a tight end, and 3 receivers. The 3 receivers in the receiving core, it's got to be Seattle.
Yeah, and I would hope that Noah Fant, as good as he was in Denver, comes to prominence here in year 2 in Seattle, and for whatever reason can get it going, because you just thought that this was going to be a Pro Bowl level tight end acquisition for them, and it just hasn't been yet. Go ahead and take away what you're going to say.
Okay, I will give you mine, and then I'd like you to rank yours. The division from best to worst, just quarterback and coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
My number 1, I do think it may fall apart, but going into this year, I have Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford as my number 1. At number 2, I have Kyle Shanahan, counting Sam Darnold and Brock, and it looks like Brock may be ready for week 1. Number 3, I have Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, simply because Geno Smith's on the down and down. I don't truly believe in him, but Pete has won at every level of the game. And 4, with the easiest decision, Colt McCoy and first-time head coach Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah, we're close.
The top 3 are tough, though.
I am excited to kind of talk about quarterbacks when we get time here, but my number 1, the 49ers, Brock Purdy, and Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan just feels like, I know that McVay just won a Super Bowl, but you can argue that Kyle Shanahan's been better over the course of the last 5 seasons than McVay has. Things just haven't panned out. The quarterback
Matt Ryan's
situation.
MVP season.
Yeah, just lots of things. This feels like the best one. Number 2, though, is Stafford and McVay. Quietly at number 3, but has a case for 2, maybe even a case for 1, depending on how this year goes. Geno and Pete Carroll. And then last but not least, I don't give a fuck who the quarterback is, and Jonathan Gannon. So
Kobe Brisket.
Cardinals. Oh boy. I think that wraps it up. Who's your prediction to win the division?
That'd be the 49ers.
Yeah.
I think the 49ers floor is 10 wins, and I have the Seattle Seahawks around 9-10 with their ceiling being at 11. I think this is minus 165. I thought it was kind of low. I thought this might be like a minus 260, minus 270 for the 49ers. They were 6-0 in division last year. They're going to be at least 4-2. I think 5-1 in the division this year.
Niners have to fall apart injury-wise for this to be a bad football team.
Yeah. I said my records, I didn't do it on purpose, but it just seems so clear-cut to me that there is a 1, 2, 3, 4 order here. I think there's some people who maybe will stand on the table for the Rams over the Seahawks, but I think the Seahawks are just trending in such a good – after they got rid of Russ, they've just done so many things right. So 49ers, Seahawks. I may even do a dabble in the future for betting the correct order for this division in the finish, which is a thing you can do on FanDuel. Know that you can do stuff like top 2, or you can do stuff or future bets to correctly predict the exact order they will finish in the division.
We do this a lot where I give you a hypothetical, but it has to happen, and you have to play off that. Okay? Mm-hmm. Geno Smith plays all 17 games, 70% completion, 4,200 yards, 70%, 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, and we'll go 10 picks, 11 picks.
Damn. I'm going to up it up a little bit, 11 or 12 wins, but I still don't think that they finish above the 49ers.
Those are his exact stats from last season.
70%?
69.8. 70%.
Yeah.
Is that not crazy?
Well, the picks don't bother me, and the yards is par of the course for today. I couldn't believe 70% complete. That shocks me. But the yards, touchdowns, and picks, I'd take those for sure. But
he wasn't throwing 2 touchdowns a game, but 30 ain't bad. And 11 over the course of 17 games is actually really good in today's league.
The thing that it's staying in me, 49ers or the Seahawks kept their trajectory. They were supposed to be like 12-5 last year. Yeah. But the fact that they went 3-5 to finish last season, like I think that's really fogging me up here. Because again, I said I had them at 9-8, and I also said I bet their floor, or like I predicted their floor based on kind of this team could win 12 games. This team could win 12 games, but I think they'll be closer to a 9 or 10 win team.
Cool. Anything else?
No, this is the Niners division until someone else takes it from them, it looks like.
We got NFC East, very popular division. NFC North still come, and then obviously the entire AFC coming to you in a couple of weeks here. Hopefully you guys are digging these. Not a big mailbag this week, but lots of voting in the poll. Appreciate that. And if you guys need any other questions, comments, concerns, you know where to find us. Follow us on the Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter. Like, subscribe to all the podcast platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever you listen. We appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir.
We're out. Real talk.
Real talk.